Hey, Jeff, what brings us on a hike to Crawford Notch in the White Mountains of New Hampshire today?
Ray, since it's a hot summer day, I figured we'd head out on the most noble quest two guys like us could ever hope to chase.
Beer?
Beer.
You're right. There is no more notable quest than the search for suds.
Yeah.
And given we've managed to find 99 New England legends so far, I'm not doubting you, but here in the middle of the forest, where are we going to find a bar?
I'm not sure we'll find it today, but there was a time a little over a century ago where, if we were clever enough to follow the signs and clues, we would find an old shack with an old man inside ready to sell us his homemade beer and regale us with stories of his life's adventures. Today, we're searching for English Jack, the Hermit of Crawford Notch. Hi, I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 99 of the New England Legends podcast. Woo! If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thanks for joining us on our quest to chronicle every legend in New England, 1 week and one story at a time. This week's episode is sponsored by our Patreon patrons who keep us alive and growing.
Yeah, they do.
Just head over to patreon.com/New England Legends, and for as little as $3 per month, you'll get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes that no one else gets to hear.
And we also love it when you call or text us anytime on our legend line at 617-444-9683. Or you can email us at info@ournewenglandlegends.com. We get tons of story ideas from you guys, so keep them coming.
All right, Jeff, so we're hiking Crawford Notch looking for where there's beer now or where there used to be beer, because now I want a beer.
And we'll find a beer today, Ray, somehow, some way. But I'm afraid we're looking for where there used to be beer.
All right.
So we're going to follow these old train tracks and then look for a trail that takes us a little deeper up into the woods in search of a hermit.
Let's head back 125 years and meet English Jack. It's July of 1894, and the White Mountains of New Hampshire are getting to be a popular tourist destination, thanks in part to the Portland and Ogdensburg Railroad, which started operating through Crawford Notch back in 1867.
Now that people can actually get here and see the beauty of the White Mountains, it's fueling the local economy. Hotels and resorts are opening up, mountain guides are getting busy taking hikers through the trails, and the rest of New England is hearing about the growing legend of the White Mountains.
If we step off the train here at Crawford Notch and start hiking up one of the popular trails into the woods, we can start to look for clues and signs of English Jack.
And I think we just found one.
All right, how can you tell?
Because right over there's a hand-painted sign that says, "Come meet English Jack, the Hermit of the White Mountains." And there's an arrow pointing that way.
All right, well, some signs are pretty obvious, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll head that way. This is a little strange, though.
How so?
Well, most hermits tend to keep to themselves. I mean,
yeah.
That's what makes them hermits, right?
Yeah, you're right.
What kind of hermit puts a sign out so people can find them?
The most capitalistic kind, I guess.
And there's another sign. I think we're getting close.
Wow, look at this place.
It's a big wooden shack, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple of windows. None of the wood looks even.
No.
So you think it's safe to go inside?
I guess there's only one way to find out. And we got to meet this guy.
Good morning, Captain. You are here, I see. Well, take a seat till I think just a bit. I was foolish yesterday to agree to tell my yarn. I seldom speak of it. For 40 years I've tried hard to forget, but some things burn into a fellow's brain, and even now, in moments of regret, I seem to live my whole life over again.
Whoa, Jack is a rhyming 70-something-year-old white-bearded hermit?
Yeah.
The ceiling is pretty low in here. Just before we came inside, I saw a big tub-like structure on one of the sides of the building. It's filled with water and looks like there's live trout swimming in there.
Yeah.
There's postcards for sale in here that feature a picture of Jack in front of his shack, and it looks like he's selling other trinkets as well.
Most of what we know about English Jack's life comes from this biographical book that he's also selling, by the way. It's titled The Story of Jack, the Hermit of the White Mountains, published in 1891 by James E. Mitchell. The whole thing is written in rhyming verse. Oh, and here's the best part. It looks like Jack is bringing us some cups of his homemade beer.
Nice.
Cheers, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. This doesn't taste like beer I've ever had before.
Well, he makes it from local hops and roots that grow right outside of his shack.
It's a ship. I call this place my ship.
Sorry, ship. Got it.
We know Jack, or John Alfred Viles, was born in London, England in 1824. He was orphaned at age 12. With nowhere else to go, Jack took to the streets looking for some kind of job.
So Jack's walking by the London boat docks trying to find work as a cabin boy, but no one's interested in his services. Dejected, Jack sits down to cry. And just when all hope seems lost, a little thing happens that will change everything. A 5-year-old girl named Mary Simmons walks up to Jack and tells him that she's lost her daddy. He's just left one of these sailing ships and now he's vanished. She's scared. Jack and Mary walk by the docks of London holding hands and looking for Mary's father. Suddenly, Mary squeals that she sees her father aboard a horse-drawn omnibus. He's so engrossed in his conversation with a fellow sailor that he doesn't notice he's lost his daughter. So Jack tells Mary, stay put. He then sprints off towards the omnibus, catching it at the next turn. He jumps aboard, bursts through the door, and yells to Mary's father that his little girl's been left behind.
Mary's father, Bill Simmons, stops the omnibus and returns back to the now relieved and waiting daughter. Once Bill hears young Jack's sad tale, he invites him to come stay at his house. Bill then goes one step further and invites Jack to be a cabin boy on his next sea voyage.
Nice.
Jack has found not only a home, but a job. Jack and Bill sail together for the next 8 years. All the while, Jack is becoming an able-bodied seaman.
It's now 1844, and Jack and Bill are sailing aboard a ship named Nelson in the Indian Ocean. There are 42 souls on board when the skies turn dark and the seas grow rough. For hours, the Nelson tries to outrun a mighty storm, but soon it's clear the ship is no match for this fierce gale. Soon, the ship is wrecked near a tiny island. The sailors are clinging to anything they can that'll float. By the time the storm passes, Jack, Bill, and 11 other sailors are all that remain from the crew of 42. But they're now stranded on this island.
The castaways are lucky to find a freshwater source on the island, but food is scarce. A few supplies are rescued from the Nelson, but it doesn't last long. To survive on the island, they need to scrounge for any animal they can find, from mussels and crabs to any other critters.
Yeah.
Before the start of the rainy season, sickness has reduced the survivors from 13 to only 4.
Wow.
Jack and Bill are among them.
For 19 months, the 4 survivors scrape by. But then, Bill also dies from illness. His dying wish is that Jack survives and returns home to care for his wife and his daughter, Mary. Jack makes a promise to his dying friend, and now there's only 3.
Just a week after Bill's death, another mighty storm blows a ship close to this uncharted island. Jack and the others see a sail on the horizon and are quick to light a signal fire. The ship sees the signal and sends a rowboat to shore to rescue the men. Sadly, Jack's 2 companions are so weak, they don't survive the voyage home. Jack is the only survivor of the Nelson by the time he returns to London.
Back in London, Jack learns that Bill's wife has died.
Oh.
And poor Mary's been taken to a workhouse. Jack buys Mary's way out of the workhouse and places her in a private school at his own expense. And by now, Jack is smitten.
Next day we went to work. No time to lose. We found a school and paid 12 months' board. That settles Mary. Then I took a cruise among the shipping, and a berth secured. Again we parted, but our hopes were high. My little Mary cried, "God bless you, Jack." I gently whispered as we kissed goodbye, "I'll bring your wedding dress when I come back."
He then leaves for sea again to earn his living, all the while dreaming about Mary and the life and family they'll make together.
When Jack returned from sea a year later, he races by train to her school, only to receive the heart-wrenching news that Mary died from illness over the winter. After the loss of Mary, his friend Bill, and Bill's wife, who was so kind to him as a boy, Jack no longer cares if he lives or dies. So he joins the Royal Navy, figuring he's bound to die in battle.
Jack's poem tells of fighting in many battles, of fighting in Africa to free the slaves, to the Arctic Circle in search of Sir John Franklin's crew, and surviving the Crimean War. After years at sea, so much bloodshed, and no chance to offer his own life for God or country, Jack makes his way to America, where he finds work building the railroad in New Hampshire. He likes the area so much, he decides to build himself a shack, or ship, as he calls it, in the mountains around Crawford Notch, and live out the rest of his days telling his story to anyone who listen.
I left old England then for good and all. and do not think I ever shall go back. I've waited long for death to sound my call, but still I'm here, your humble servant, Jack.
This book, The Story of Jack, is published in 1891, and suddenly people are coming to Crawford Notch as much to see the beauty of the mountains as they are to meet the legendary English Jack. Jack spends his winters hunting, trapping, and making souvenirs to sell to summer tourists, and he spends his summer, well, being English Jack.
And here we are sipping homemade White Mountain brew and hearing the tale for ourselves.
In his later years, Jack no longer braves the harsh mountain winters. He spends the time lodging with a family in the Twin Mountain region. The family he stays with always noted that Jack dressed formally and well while living with them. But when spring came, he would find old clothes, tear holes in them, and scuff them up with dirt before returning to his mountain ship.
Well, Jack passes away quietly April 24th, 1912, while staying with the McGee family. He was 87 years old.
So today, we have pretty much no hope of finding a beer shack up here in Crawford Notch, do we?
No, sadly we don't. Our only hope is to maybe find the cellar hole where English Jack used to make and sell his beer while spinning his yarns.
Well, do you think his stories are true?
We know English Jack was a real guy. We have plenty of photos of him in his ship in the woods. We know he was written about in many letters and articles. And as for the truth behind his backstory, I'm guessing we'll never know for sure. But I'd rather break a stained glass window than do anything to diminish the legend of Old English Jack.
And I'll drink to that.
If you'd like to see pictures of English Jack and his old shack, or ship, plus a link to read the entire epic poem about his life for yourself, hike over to OurNewEnglandLegends.com and click on episode 99.
Hey, also do us a favor and please post a review of our show on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to us.
Please do.
Those reviews are how new listeners find our show in a crowded sea of podcasts.
We'd like to thank Michael Legge for lending his voice acting talents this week, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember, the bazaar is closer than you think.